Consider this. The global CO2 emissions in 2019 reached a staggering 33.1 gigatons. That's the weight of over 6.6 billion elephants. Imagine that many elephants in one place, and you'll start to grasp the enormity of the problem. Climate change isn't a distant threat, it's a present crisis, reshaping our world with each passing second. Against this backdrop, the European Union has taken a bold step to curb these emissions. The European Union has introduced a system called the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, or CBAM for short. This mechanism is essentially a carbon border tax, a bold move by the EU to tackle the global climate crisis. The CBAM is designed to level the playing field and prevent what is known as carbon leakage. Now, you might be wondering, what exactly is carbon leakage? It's the phenomenon where businesses shift their operations to countries with less stringent carbon emission regulations, effectively leaking carbon emissions into these regions. The EU's emissions trading system, or ETS, while a significant step towards reducing emissions within the EU, doesn't deter Europeans from importing carbon-intensive goods from these countries. Enter the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism. The CBAM directly addresses carbon leakage by requiring importers to pay for the emissions embodied in the goods they import. The rates are calculated to reflect the carbon taxes or lack thereof in the country of origin. So CBAM's primary function is twofold. Firstly, to prevent carbon leakage, and secondly, to encourage a global reduction in CO2 emissions. By imposing a carbon cost on imports, the CBAM is designed to incentivize companies worldwide to reduce their carbon footprint, thus fostering a more environmentally conscious global trading system. However, the road to CBAM's implementation was not without its challenges. The path to CBAM was marked by controversy and challenges. This journey began with a vision of a world where trade and the environment could coexist harmoniously. This vision was not easily achieved. It was met with debates, negotiations, and compromises, a testament to the complexity of balancing economic growth and environmental protection. Picture this: a room filled with representatives from the European Union's member states, each advocating for their country's interests, each with their own perspective on how to best tackle climate change. Hours turn into days, days into weeks, as the member states grapple with the task at hand. Some argue for a more aggressive approach, citing the urgency of the climate crisis. Others caution against it, fearing the potential economic repercussions. Amidst these debates, the concept of the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism begins to take shape. Its purpose? To address the issue of carbon leakage, a phenomenon where Europeans purchase carbon-intensive products from countries that do not have domestic carbon taxes. The negotiations are intense. There are concerns about the potential for trade disputes, questions about the mechanism's compatibility with World Trade Organization rules, and debates about how to calculate the carbon content of imported goods. But through all this, a consensus begins to form. The CBAM is seen as a necessary step, albeit an imperfect one, towards achieving the European Union's climate goals. Yet the journey is not over. The proposal for the CBAM must then be presented to the European Parliament and the European Council, where further debates and negotiations ensue. It's a process of refinement, of fine-tuning the details to ensure that the mechanism is as effective and fair as possible. Despite these hurdles, the European Union remains steadfast in its commitment to the environment. It recognizes the need for bold actions to combat climate change, and it is willing to take the lead in this global fight. Despite the controversies, the European Union stood firm on its commitment to fight climate change. This journey to the CBAM is a testament to that commitment, a testament to the European Union's determination to create a sustainable future for all. The CBAM, while a significant step, is not without its own set of challenges. Let's dive into the potential turbulence it might stir up on the global stage. One of the prime concerns is the geopolitical tension that the CBAM could ignite, especially between the European Union and nations that have yet to implement their own domestic carbon taxes. Imagine this scenario. You're a country outside the EU, let's say, hypothetically the United States, and you're exporting goods to Europe. Suddenly, your goods are subject to an additional tax because of the carbon emissions involved in their production. It's not hard to see how this could cause friction. Critics argue that the CBAM could even lead to trade disputes. They caution that it might be seen as a protectionist measure designed to shield European industries from competition rather than a genuine attempt to tackle climate change. This could potentially create a ripple effect, causing retaliatory measures and sparking a global trade war. Some also question the implementation of the CBAM. It's a complex mechanism that requires intricate calculations to determine the carbon content of a wide range of goods. This could be a daunting task, and there's a risk of it becoming a bureaucratic nightmare. Moreover, there's the issue of developing nations. They often lack the resources to transition to greener technology as quickly as their wealthier counterparts. The CBAM, while aiming to reduce global carbon emissions, could inadvertently exacerbate economic disparities between nations. And let's not forget the legal challenges. The World Trade Organization has rules to prevent discriminatory treatment between countries. Critics argue that the CBAM could violate these rules, leading to a legal quagmire. Despite these challenges, the European Union stands firm. It argues that the CBAM, while not perfect, is a necessary step in the global fight against climate change. It's a tool to level the playing field, ensuring that countries cannot simply outsource pollution to other parts of the world. However, the EU argues that the CBAM is a necessary measure in the fight against climate change. And with that, we'll leave the challenges behind and move on to explore the economic case for the CBAM in our next segment. While it has its critics, there is a strong economic argument for the CBAM. The Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, or CBAM, does more than just address the issue of carbon leakage. It fundamentally changes the global economic landscape, creating a new paradigm where environmental responsibility is not just a moral duty, but a financial necessity. You see, by implementing the CBAM, the European Union is effectively leveling the playing field for its industries. In the past, European companies burdened with the costs of the emissions trading system found themselves at a competitive disadvantage against firms from countries where carbon emissions weren't priced. This created a perverse incentive for businesses to relocate their carbon-intensive activities to countries with lax environmental regulations, undermining the very purpose of the ETS. But now, with the CBAM in place, this is no longer the case. Importers are required to pay for the emissions embodied in the goods they bring into the EU, effectively countering the price advantage that carbon-intensive products from countries without carbon pricing once enjoyed. This measure ensures that businesses within the EU are not disadvantaged for their commitment to reducing carbon emissions. But the economic implications of the CBAM extend beyond the borders of the European Union. By levying a charge on carbon-intensive imports, the CBAM incentivizes other countries to implement their own domestic carbon pricing mechanisms. After all, if a country already imposes a carbon tax at home, the CBAM charge on its exports to the EU would be reduced or even eliminated. This essentially turns the CBAM into a global catalyst for carbon pricing, nudging nations towards adopting their own measures against carbon emissions. Of course, the CBAM isn't a silver bullet. It's a complex mechanism with its fair share of challenges, from administrative hurdles to potential trade disputes. But it's a crucial step towards integrating the true cost of carbon emissions into the global economic system. Therefore, the CBAM can be seen as a powerful tool in the global fight against climate change. The CBAM is a bold step towards a greener future, but its journey is just beginning. As we look ahead, we see a world where this mechanism could be a game changer in the fight against climate change. Imagine a future where all major economies have implemented similar measures. The global marketplace would transform, becoming a race not just for profits but also for sustainability. Companies worldwide would be incentivized to lower their carbon footprints, sparking an innovation revolution in clean technologies. This is the potential power of the CBAM. However, realizing this potential is no small task. It requires ongoing negotiations, international cooperation, and a shared commitment to a sustainable future. The European Union has fired the starting gun, but it's up to other countries to join the race. As we speak, dialogues are taking place. Countries are watching, learning, and considering their own responses to the CBAM. Some may adopt similar measures, while others may challenge the CBAM at the World Trade Organization. These debates are crucial. They will shape the future of the CBAM and, by extension, the future of our planet. But let's not forget that the CBAM is just one piece of the puzzle. It's a part of a broader strategy to combat climate change, which includes reducing emissions at home, investing in renewable energy, and transitioning to a circular economy. As we move forward, it's crucial that we continue to explore and implement a variety of solutions. The CBAM is a step in the right direction, but it's not a silver bullet. Our fight against climate change demands a multifaceted approach and the collective effort of all nations. In the face of a climate crisis, measures like the CBAM show that the world can take concrete steps towards a sustainable future. The cost of inaction is simply too high.